You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Welcome to Tackling a New Kingdom. I am your host, Tank Johnson, and today we have a big show. My friend and former teammate, he is a ESPN NFL analyst, host of the Swagoo and Perk podcast, my brother Marcus, aka M. Dot, but better known as Swagoo. Marcus Spears, how you doing, dog?
Man, so good to see you, my dude. So good to see you, man. I was thinking when we was trying to go through the whole thing to set this up, like it just kept coming to my mind. We don't reconnect enough. So the fact that we get on this podcast and we could chop it up for a little bit, I'm excited to see you, man. And keep doing what you're doing. I saw you with Roger Goodell. Man. Don't be dancing with the enemy all the time.
Hey, man.
I'm just playing, bro.
I gotta get him. Well, I mean, on Inside This Kingdom, we tackle a range of topics. We're going to tackle something current, and that today will be social media burnout in athletes and the effect on mental health. Yeah. Something real, how the culture in Dallas, we were teammates in Dallas, how that differed from, you got to play in Baltimore. Yeah. I got to play in 2 other cities, how those cultures are different, and something controversial. Has the parents within America, have they swung completely out of balance in trying to create a child prodigy? We saw the tragedy down in Texas with Yaqub Talib, and we want to tackle that. And I want to finish it on something real funny that you're gonna like, man. You're gonna get a kick out of this. So let's jump right into it. Let's tackle something current. We knew, right, that the social media landscape was going to have some drawbacks, bro. Like, we knew it wasn't going to be all good. Anyone who's been around the block a few times knows that, like, this is going to have some type of negative effect. With what we're seeing with Adrian Broner, Mikey Garcia pulling out of big-time fights for mental health, can you talk to us about social media burnout? And what do you think about that, bro?
Tank, first of all, phenomenal topic, man. And I think social media has, like you said, it's 2 sides of that coin. I think it has highlighted and magnified mental health.
Man,
for
sure.
Because we all, before social media, you and I were fortunate enough to play a large majority of our careers before social media, and we knew other people had perspectives of us. Like, our arguments would be with local beat writers.
Right.
Our arguments would be with people that we could actually see, talk to, touch, and feel when they said something bad about us, because in order for you to have something like that, you actually had to be in the vicinity of the person.
For sure.
And have that type of connectivity to them. I think for me, man, one, if you don't have a filter for all of the noise that's coming in, right? And you're entering this landscape and people will give their opinions about the podcast. They'll give opinions about you personally. And a lot of times what I'm seeing with athletes is it's become so personal and so much about their performance and what they do in their careers that they don't know how to filter that. Man. To them, it's all one thing. Everything, if you play bad, it's an indictment on my character. If you say something about me, you're saying something about the sport that I play. So it's not being filtered. And then the other thing is, and Tank, I promise, man, I had to really cautious myself on saying this because, bro, I don't know how social media doesn't bother me.
Right.
Personally, but I had to start to recognize with even my colleagues at ESPN and in television that everybody can't handle the negativity.
Right. True.
Right.
Very true.
So I had to kind of stop thinking or stop preaching. Why y'all let this matter to y'all? Like, why is this bothering you this much? For me personally, bro, I just don't know how to accept and let somebody that I never knew existed on the face of this earth 5 seconds before I read their post affect me in my real life. I have that disconnect, bro. And I just had to realize everybody don't.
Man, I think that's an advantage of kind of when we were leaving the game, we got to see the difference. We saw what it was before and we saw what it was after. And I feel like athletes who have just seen the sports landscape with social media, they've been able, I don't think they have that ability to shut it off. And I know that, I'm a big boxing fan. I got my Muhammad Ali shirt on. I know you're a big fighting fan. And just looking at AB, like early in his career, I mean, this guy was a champion in 4 weight classes, right? And sometimes the antics that he did made us laugh. Sometimes it made us cringe. But at the end of the day, he was playing it all out on social media. And so now that the social media is not there with the adulation, it's not a safe place for him. Now you're seeing that those mental health problems. So I think with that, I mean,
let me say this to your point. And I'm speaking to athletes. I'm speaking to people that's very engaged with social media. In the context for Adrian Bronner, who you talked about, you got to be very careful at how much intel you give the world. I don't care if you're a superstar boxer and everybody know you and you fame from that. You're a superstar basketball player, superstar football player. You better be very careful because now it's called a footprint. Man. So a lot of what Adrian Bronner was giving is fine when you on top. It's fine when you at the highest level. And for him, even though negativity was coming at that time, his foundation and the thing he could fall back on is, I'm one of the best in the world. So that was his shield and his mechanism. Right. And now that mechanism doesn't exist anymore, now I'm looking in the mirror and I'm starting to identify all of my flaws outside of boxing. Wow. So I try to get that point across to a lot of young athletes, man. And you and I had a lot of conversations about this when we played together with the Cowboys. And the one thing you knew about me, football didn't define me. I was already talking about trying to get the hell out of there.
The transition.
So I think a lot of times, man, to your point, it's convoluted on the social media side with the guys that's in the league now of how they mesh personal and their careers together. But with you and I, when we were playing, we did have a filter, bro, because when we went home, we could turn off the noise. Yeah. It wasn't buzzing our phone all day long. Our friends wasn't texting us about, man, you see what Marcus Beer said about you? You see what Tank Johnson, you see what Stephen A said about you? That like it wasn't a constant, this 24/7 cycle of people trying to tell you who you are. Right. And the problem is with like now you got a lot of guys and a lot of women, because Liz Cambridge, the basketball player, she just stepped away from the WNBA. Right. And a lot of that is because of just that, to your point, that non-filter, man. And then when you de-elevate and you no longer the superstar and you're not filtered by the praise being so loud that the negativity really can't get in and it reverses, then you start figuring out like, damn, this bothers me way more than I thought, but you no longer have that shield.
Well, one of the things that I've always been interested in is like, at what point are we going to have enough information to speak on the first case study of that first generation, that first 10 years or what have you? And I truly believe we've seen the first case study of, to your point, letting it all fly on social media with no filter, what that could do to you on the flip side when you're descending from your career.
Yeah, man. And Tank, you know this, bro, because we played high-level football. You went to a Super Bowl. And I say that this is one of my sayings to my kids, and this is one of my sayings to a lot of times when I'm able to interact with young athletes or people that want to get in the television business. People will compliment you to the poorhouse. They'll compliment you to the poor mental house, because we all have a time, right? Like we all have a time where we are quote unquote on top of our game, and all of our interactions are based on how well we are performing, regardless of if we want to admit it or not, right? Like the normal Joe ain't gonna walk up to Tank and Marcus Spears if we didn't play in the NFL and say, man, you look like a phenomenal dude. But because we put those uniforms on, because we played well, we got thousands of people that will come up to us in settings that normally, especially being two big black men, they wouldn't even be comfortable coming up to us in.
Not at all.
And I'm not just speaking about white people. I'm speaking about our own people too. Like it's a comfort level that comes along with the success, because everybody, if you're successful, other successful people are willing to impart wisdom and knowledge, right?
True.
The other thing about it is people that aren't quote unquote considered successful or on the level you are in whatever your career is or how well notarized you are, they feel comfortable coming up to you because they know publicly you can't respond a number of ways.
You're handcuffed a little bit.
You're handcuffed, right? like Mike Tyson being on the airplane.
Right.
Right.
He thought he couldn't get touched.
He thought he couldn't get. So it's a comfort level it's a different type of comfort, but it's a comfort level to say the least. And when people start acknowledging you, speaking of Adrian Bronner or anybody in that situation, when they start acknowledging all of the quote unquote crazy things that we've seen you do, all of the outlandish things, all of the things that was accepted when you were that dude
up here,
and now they acknowledging you and saying, remember all that foolishness you used to do? And now you ain't on top no more and you're paying for it. So there is a fine line, man. We dealt with it in the NFL with Antonio Brown. Man, man, you catching touchdowns, you winning Super Bowls, you whatever. And here's another case study for you, Tank.
Yeah,
give me 5 years from now, and then let's have a conversation about Antonio Brown. Because right now the song is out and the NFL players are doing your dance, and you still are, you still operating off of your stardom and the things that you've done as a player.
That spotlight.
But at some point, that spotlight is removed, and the only thing people are gonna start paying attention to is what they considered outlandish and crazy. That is when you find out how they respond.
Wow. I think that this is an opportunity for our young men and women to take a look at the data. This is real life, real time data on all of that social media adulation and running to social media. And I really hope it gives them an opportunity to learn. All right. Man. That is tackling something current. You and I, we both were teammates on the Cowboys. I was there for a cup of coffee. You had the bulk of your career there. Me coming from Chicago, and then you subsequently having the ability to go to Baltimore and seeing another football culture. When I got to Dallas, I felt like I had landed on Mars in terms of football culture. Can you tell me the difference in cultures that you just seen from being in another place?
Yeah, man. It's funny you said that, because to me, the Dallas thing, for as normal as it got to me, it was still moments. Even the year we had, because the year you were there, Well, us together, Hard Knocks. We had Hard Knocks,
Yeah.
right? So it was even more polarized, and that was, we had Pac-Man, we had T.O., we had between you, Pac-Man, and T.O., y'all were three of the biggest personalities in the NFL. Not only because y'all had personalities, but because y'all had a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
So people naturally gravitated. Me and you hit it off well. We had a strong, tight-knit D-line room as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the culture for me in Dallas when you were there was normal. It was how we operated. When I got there, it was Greg Ellis and Leroy Glover, and it was
Good
a veteran late.
Good dudes.
Great dudes, bro. And that's honestly, when people ask me about my tenure in Dallas, the one thing I remember is my teammates. I had great teammates, Tank. You, Jason Hatcher, Stephen Bowen, Jay Ratliff, Chris Canty. Like, we had so many, like, good dudes. Like, I don't ever remember a time, and it may have been personally or privately, but I don't ever remember a time when you and I played together, or when we finally matured past our rookie year with the guys that I came in with, where we all didn't want to see each other have success.
Right.
That was like the common thread with the guys that I was around for the majority of my career. But the culture in Dallas was polarized, and it was entertainment. And I got to be honest, at times it felt like it was entertainment first, and football was just something that was in there.
Right. Mixed in.
What I mean? Mixed in with what we were actually there for, And Jerry is obviously a big polarizing. No owners do interviews after every game like him.
Right.
No owners are more involved in the day-to-day because he is the general manager as well. So it's a completely different dynamic, right, in Dallas. Right. And then when I got to Baltimore, I saw Steve Bisciotti like twice.
The whole time.
The whole time, right? And like Ozzie was the general manager, and it just was football. And I was up there with Terrell Suggs, and I played with some really good players. They drafted Brandon Williams. Me and Chris Canty actually signed that same year. He came from New York. I came from Dallas.
Right.
And I was like, bro, if I would have did this for 8 years, I wonder what the outcome would have been, as opposed to doing Dallas. What I will say, Tank, in closing, when you come to Dallas as a young player, you have to be lucky to have veterans to get you ready for being what a Dallas Cowboy is.
That's a big point.
And if you manage it right, it'll carry you for a lifetime. Make no mistake about it, bro. Yeah. That star on my helmet elevated me at ESPN. Make no mistake about it.
Wow.
Like that is as much a part of the success that I've been able to have in television.
The Swagoo brand. The Swagoo brand. Yeah,
man. So it's like everything, Tank. And I think that's what I've always admired and respected about you. We both understand to acknowledge the positives and the negatives
both sides
of a situation. Yeah. And it's always that.
Always.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you put those two things up together. And because for me, not having the longest tenure there, I mean, it was kind of like a glimpse for me. But even in that glimpse, I was able to see the power of the star if you do it right.
Yeah,
you look at guys like Dion and the success that
Tony Romo,
man.
Jason Witten was on Monday Night Football, bro.
Man, it does elevate, and it almost shows you that if you can do it right, that there are those good sides of it. So there is a positive side to that entertainment. But I remember, man, I traveling to Oxnard, I felt like I was in a rock band.
He was in a rock band.
And I was on tour. We went to Cali, to Denver, to San Diego. I was like, wait, where's our regular practice field?
Where do we practice at?
I honestly didn't even understand it, but to have a real Dallas Cowboy who's entrenched in that franchise explain that to me, it offers all the perspective in the world.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because it can be. I have to acknowledge it can be tough to especially with me and DeMarcus Ware was drafted the same year. It can be tough as a rookie, bro.
Ooh.
You coming into a lot of money. Everywhere you go, everybody knows you. And it's kind of like we had success and loves you. And we had success in college. And I went to LSU, which was big time, but that was big time Louisiana. Right? Like when you get to Dallas, it's the whole world, bro. Like you can remember this. We used to have presidents, governors.
The first time I ever seen Jay-Z and LeBron up close was in Green Bay.
In Green Bay. Yeah, bro. So it just was, it's a whole different animal, man. And if you don't have some people there to kind of like, hey, these are the things you're gonna see. This the type of stuff that's gonna happen. It could have you think, like you said, it could have you thinking you the lead singer in a rock band, and then come to find out you can't sing that well.
Man, let me tell you something, man. Listen, I experienced Las Vegas as what I consider a civilian, and I experienced Las Vegas as a Dallas Cowboy. And I never knew there was that many back doors and tunnels,
bro,
in Las Vegas than when Stephen Jones gave me a little wrinkled up business card. He said, call this guy, change my life.
Everything, dude. Everything, man.
My first experience with TMZ was when I was in we were in Oxnard. We had a day off. Dude jumped out the bush, and you know me, I'm from around the way, so when he jumped out, I squared up on him. He said, Tank,
I remember.
What do you think about Tony Romo and Jessica Simpson? I said, man, don't the hell on. Get on, man.
Hey, even think about that, Tank. At the time, Tony Romo was dating Jessica Simpson and Miles Austin was dating Kim Kardashian.
And she came to the sideline at the Hall of Fame game.
Came to the sideline Hall of Fame game. Dallas Cowboys, because Kim Kardashian wouldn't have looked twice at Miles if he didn't play for the Dallas Cowboys.
That star
wouldn't have looked twice at him.
not at all, man. So, but no, thank you for giving me that insight and that perspective of a tenured person in the stars. Now we're gonna switch to tackling something controversial because I truly believe that difficult conversation leads to better perspective, right? And right now, we have a situation in Texas where a former NFL All-Pro, Aqib Talib's brother, Yaqub Talib, is accused of shooting and ultimately killing this gentleman, Michael Hickman.
Yep.
And they were at a 6-year-old practice game. So when I see that, I wonder if, as a country, as a community, are we putting too much pressure on our children to become the next, not even LeBron, but Bronny James? Because for me and your generation, it was, I'm going to take care of my mama after high school, college. I go to the pros and I could take care of my mom.
Yep.
Now you can take care of your mama in high school.
Yeah.
In high school. So is that alone putting too much pressure and turning these sidelines and these stands into ultimately violent places?
Yeah, Tank. Listen, man, bro, so disheartening, first of all. And I was going to post on social media after I found out about it. And I was going to make it about Black men, and being the example that we need to be. But I didn't, and that's where professionally, social media wise, I'm always cautious because I didn't want the conversation to steer away from what had actually happened. Right. And I knew that if I went on that rant, which it was in my heart and my spirit, man, but I knew if I posted that, it would be taken away. Yeah, exactly. And we get 7 other avenues would have came off that. Here's what I'll say, man, and you hit the nail on the head. I was having a conversation. I was going a few years ago. I was going to speak to South Carolina men's basketball team. They were in the middle of a run, like going to the Final Four, and Frank Martin was their head coach. And Frank Martin pulled me to the side before I was about to talk to the team, and he told me something, man, that really sticks with me until this day. And Tank, it was as simple as this. He said, kids haven't changed, parents have.
So true. So
he said, when I go into homes to recruit, the parents ask me for what I'm gonna give them first, not the kids, right? So a lot of it, man, just boils down to this sense of, again, social media, right? And the access to LeBron James. See, when we saw our stars, it was happenstance, or we was going to a game. Man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like we didn't have this every 5 seconds we can pick up and go to LeBron James social media. Man. Or we can go to Cristiano Ronaldo social media, or Messi, or Serena Williams. And, you know, we look at their life, we look at their houses, we look at the things that they able to do. And in a lot of these parents' minds, and I wholeheartedly believe that they want the best for their kids, but it's a lot of selfishness involved in that.
Entitlement,
right? Like, if he makes it, this is what's going to happen for me. Or if she makes it, this is what's going to happen for me. And Tank, the dynamic is crazy, and I'm glad you brought it up. Dog, my daughter is the #2 ranked sophomore volleyball player in the country.
Wow. That
comes with some things, right? She's recognized at all of these tournaments. She hasn't posted.
When she walks in the gym, everybody turns, looks at her.
Everybody turns and knows, right? So I'm thankful that my wife and I experienced professional success, and we kind of can navigate and help her understand, you know, the psychological part of it, right? But a lot of times, man, to your point, these parents, these men that were at this game, the first question I asked myself, what could possibly make you commit murder in front of these young, impressionable kids, number one, and more importantly, take another man's life for what?
What's that important?
Because the game didn't go well, or you didn't, I don't know what the reason it was, but Tank, there was no reason.
Right.
If that, it outside of another man trying to take your life, is the only time I think you take a man's life.
That's it.
Protecting yourself. That's it. I just have there is nothing in my mind, bro. Because here's what I know. If you and I had been at that game, and we saw that pot being stirred, or those altercations about to take place, nobody would have ever got to the middle of the field.
Ever.
And I'm trying to figure out, how does it escalate from you've played the entire game, end of the game,
a practice game,
bro? It bothers me, because, to your point, that had nothing to do with those kids,
man.
And now you got Coach Hickman's son was there. So now, what kind of cycle have we started? Man. How does he interpret conflict resolution? Who is going to be the male force now? Think it would have been one of the greatest things in my life if my dad could have coached me.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And he no longer afforded that. And he was being afforded that. So, dude, it's so many layers to it. But again, man, like, we pull triggers because of either fear, or we think that's what we got to do, or that make us a man. And we don't think about not only a man losing his life, but think it's 100 other casualties now.
Yeah.
from that situation.
That's gonna have a trickle down effect that you can't comprehend.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you know what, man? I've just been looking at the intensity level just around the country of that they're putting on these young children. And I had a AAU basketball team, shout out Seattle Swish. And we went to Utah for a tournament, and this kid walked in, he's dribbling. The kid was no bigger than, I mean, he was maybe up to, like, to my waist. Tiny little kid, but he had probably 25 grown men walking behind him, and he's walking in, dribbling his ball. And I said, "Who's that?" Oh, he said, "Oh yeah, that's the number one 12-year-old in the country." And I said, well, why are they ranking a 12-year-old, and they have all these men with these cameras and these sites putting that pressure on these little kids? And I ultimately think that you create this environment where it's not letting these kids grow and excel, but now there's pressure infused in youth sports, money, gambling, and that's how you end up with a situation like Michael Hickman. And we need to keep saying his name, Michael Hickman, man, because he is somebody who tried to do it right, was trying to help in the community. I don't know his rights and his wrongs, but I know he didn't deserve to die at a youth sports game.
No way. And Tank, I didn't post it, but I'm gonna say it. Why? And maybe I'm a part of, not maybe, I am a part of it, because we should be in the middle of the streets about this.
Right.
We should be saying his name like we did Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. Yeah. This should be the loud microphone, because injustice is injustice, bro. Like, wronging somebody is wronging somebody. And I get the other side of that, right? People are paid to protect you, and that's their job and affiliate. But I want us to start as a community, especially a Black community. We got to start having the same type of energy, not only towards our successes, because when Bronny dunked in that game, it's probably 100 million impressions over the internet.
Man.
And we might have 2,000 for Coach Hickman.
Sad.
You feel what I'm saying? So I'm in this. These are the type of, like, the social media and the negativity. These are the internal things that I have to think on and figure out an approach, bro. Because these are the things that bother me. Like somebody saying, Morris, you stupid, you don't know nothing about football. Bro, okay, whatever. But when we lose in life at the hands of us, and when we lose in life not only of a father, but we lose in life of a coach. I'm sure he was a mentor to some of those other young men. Usually when you coaching, you got to be a father to more than just your own son.
Man.
Other parents probably was dependent on him to all of that type of stuff. But we not magnifying that, and we not voicing that. So I'm going to. And I was on TV the last 2 days, and I'm already in my head like, this should have been the first thing I talked about. But so the day-to-day has to stop getting in the way of us in our community showing the transgressions, but also showing the positivity. Man. And being loud about it.
Accountability.
Yes, man.
Accountability.
Yes, bro.
I appreciate you jumping into uncomfortable conversations, because I truly believe it leads to greater perspective.
Yes, sir.
We're going to end the show on something really, really, really funny to me. I was in my office the other day, and I've got all types of stuff up here in my office, and I looked up, and this was completely random. Like, of course, I knew I was interviewing you this week, but I saw Dallas Cowboy football, and it said your name on it, and I thought that maybe somehow I had got one of your balls mixed up, but I picked it up, and it says game ball presented to Tank Johnson by Marcus Spears for the last game, the last Thanksgiving game in Texas Stadium, and I remember something about this game. I remember before we got started, I don't know how much success my season had, but I remember saying, if I get a sack, I'm doing the turkey dance. And and lo and behold, that gap opened up. I shot it. I got that sack, and I started that turkey dance. And that day, everybody got a sack, did the turkey dance.
Yep.
Can you tell me what you remember about that day?
Bro, listen, first of all, it was so fun. I don't know if you remember this. We wore camo. You don't remember that?
Oh, man, we did.
We wore camo. And you know, I'm a big fisherman and hunter. I hunt and fish.
Yes.
You know that. And I was like, I actually told I don't know if you remember Bruce, but Bruce was the older white gentleman. He was the person that come get you if the Cowboys cutting you.
Oh yeah, with the slick back.
Slick back. You remember Bruce, the hair plugs?
Yeah, the hair plugs.
I think Bruce is passed, so God rest his soul. But
God rest his soul.
I told Bruce, I said, Bruce, whoever on this D line get the first sack of the game, I'm gonna present a ball to him.
Wow.
And then Bruce was like, well, I don't know. You know, you knew how Bruce was. I don't know if you could do that. You got to ask coach. So
right.
And you know, during that time, man, we was having a blast. It was Wade. We was having a blast. So I told Wade, I said, Coach, look, man, whoever get a sack on the D line, first I'm gonna present a game ball to him. Wow. So I'm sitting over there because you know I wasn't no pass rusher. Y'all was the third down. Y'all was the third down. Go get it. So you get the sack, and I walk up to Wade, and I was like, "Hey, Tank, get the game ball presented by me, right?" And Wade in the middle of the game, he trying to, you know, he like, all right, Marcus, whatever.
Right.
So I was like, I said, so when you present him the game ball, coach, I needed to feel big though. Like after the game, I said, I needed to feel big. I needed to feel like this was something I had put a whole lot of thought and time into and all of that. He was like, all right, man, we're going to present it to him. We're going to get the ball made, whatever. And I'll never forget, bro, Tank, they gave you that ball so discreetly.
Slid it to me.
I'm like, every time y'all present a game ball, we in the team meeting room, and it's a big presentation. And because I want to present one to one of my brothers, y'all just go slide that thing in this locker room.
But yeah, like, what's this?
I know. What's this? But you got it, man. That's love, man. That's love.
Man, well, I want to say, as a friend of yours, I'm so proud of your success.
Thank you, bro.
When I see you on national TV, absolutely representing for us, man, I feel so good, man. I'm it's good to see one of my former teammates having success. Life is life, but you are trudging forward.
Yes, man. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show, and man, well, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, man. And let me say this, Tank, because I appreciate you, man. Don't take these platforms and this microphone for granted, bro. You got something to say. You got a wealth of knowledge. I love the fact. Let me tell people a story before we go. And I'm sure you remember this. Speaking of social media, Instagram, this dude came at me real foul. And I exchange, and I don't really go back and forth with people on the personal. If you're talking about football, I'll go back and forth with you. You slide insult, but if you make a good point, I go back and forth with you. So this guy has sent a message, and somehow I reposted it. And honestly, bro, when I do that, a lot of people be like, "Why you get these people time of the day and all of that?" I literally do that for my colleagues to let them know, because around ESPN, everybody looks at, you know, it's a couple personalities that people look at and think everybody love y'all. Y'all on TV all the time. No, man, we get hate, vitriol, all of that type of stuff. And I'll never forget, bro, you responded to the gentleman and told him what type of person I was. And he said, I remember you saying, if you were able to have a chance to sit down and really talk to them more, you have a whole different perspective. And the dude response was, yeah, man, I feel bad that I even said that or whatever. But I wanted to tell that story, Tank, because a lot of times that's what people need. Sometimes, like a message for everybody that's listening to this, sometimes people that know you need to go before you and say, you got the wrong impression. You got the wrong perspective. So one, thank you for that. Two, I think it was a valuable lesson for him, for the gentleman, to be like, yeah, I need to evaluate the type of energy that I'm putting out in the world. And the one thing I've always attributed to you, bro, because you know you and I have sat and we have laughed and we have had a great time together. Real recognize real, bro. So what you're doing, I know it's going to be successful because people are going to gravitate to the truth. So just keep telling the truth on that mic, man.
Man, tackling a new kingdom, big swagoo. We out of here.
My brother.
Thank you, man.
Man, you already know. You already know, bro. I'm glad we got it done.
Yeah, we did. I can't tell you how much, as a person who's trying to start this, you taking the time for this today. Thank you, bro.
Oh, no doubt, bro. Love and relationships, bro. Get a family my best.
Man, same here.
All right, bro.
All right, take care.
Later.
Thank you for watching Believe. You can find more great content at Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Do you believe?